What's up, y'all? It's T-Tart, and today we're going to be talking about some Scarlet and Violet stuff, starting off with Applin and its new evolution. Of course, it evolves into Dipplin, but there's some stuff to talk about with Applin. Ideas have been flowing around for whether Dipplin will instead evolve again, rather than being the final stage like these two, and linked with this riddle from Ku, which shows this coiling around, people are thinking maybe this is the Candy Apple third stage. Now, there is no third stage confirmed yet. Sometimes Pokemon designs just have a weird final stage like this. But you can suspect some kind of madness happening where whatever's inside the apple eventually comes out and it looks horrible in a good way. But I want to show you first what Applin really is. If you play the new Pokemon Snap, you get to see it outside of the apple. You've always wondered, why is Applin a dragon? Well, it still looks like a Caterpie, but that's Applin. So what Applin really is this little worm Pokemon with its two eyes sticking out at the top of its head. And when it goes into an apple, it has the illusion of looking like the stems of the apple. But that's the dragon underneath. You can see these eyes in Flapple, or at least one of them. God, this thing is horrifying. And then where are its eyes on Appleton? But again, there they are there. So what Applin does is it finds an apple and makes it its home, and Applin's body juices keep the apple from rotting. So they work together. I mean, the apple's not alive, but as it spends time in this apple, when the apple gets a certain flavor, it evolves into either Appleton or Flapple. But if it loses its apple, it gets weak and dehydrated and dies. It's just to give some backstory to its interdependence with the apple. Now let's look at Dipplin. While the Applin burrowed into this apple, somehow a second creature is sticking its ass out. Not only are Applin and the apple interdependent, but now a second living thing is in the apple, and now all three parties are working together. The lifeless apple and the two living things. Working together, they make syrup and coat the apple in it, and then they use it to trick opponents. They lure them, bait them into traps, and make them expose themselves. It's because these two are working so closely together. They're partners in crime. I don't think they mind sharing rent in that apple. Knowing that backstory, it does make sense that this could lead to a further evolution. It sounds like this is just the start of the story where the two creatures are working together, and there's a real final form waiting for it. Maybe it even turns into this kind of bait Pokemon where it flaunts this apple and there's this dragon that just bites you when you go for it. So let me show you some cool ideas for Applin, and then we'll go to your theories. Here's one, take by Fakemon Forever. They're so buddy. You know, a set of twins as a Pokemon is kind of cool. These suckers are gonna get some parental bond counterpart where the Pokemon hits twice. So you see how they're coiling around like this? This is what people are interpreting the cool riddle is about. And I want it too. The only thing I need to see is what the other creature really is. Artworks like this make it sound like it's another Applin. So twin Applins are working together. Here's one by Mad Zygarde Core. Oh lord. Alright, so this thing is a standing dragon. It looks like a Pokemaniac. Oh, this is the worst. I just mean, this is like a bait. You go to pick up an apple and this thing comes out of the ground. Like you smell the most tasty apple ever and you're starving. You walk into the woods and then you realize there's like 7 of these following you. I want the third stage to happen. We don't get a lot of interdependent species in Pokemon. What do we have? Like Slowking, the Shelder and the Slowpoke, freaking Mantine and Remoraid? That don't even count. This would be cool. And there's one more I want to show you, but let's go to the Ku tweet. Let me remind you of this. So this is the tweet here. Coiling snakes that look like what an Applin would look like. And then if you remember, there's also the other riddle Ku posted, which is the 2 new Pokemon. The left was Archaludon. The right, he even told us, was not revealed yet. So it's clearly not Dipplin. Maybe it's a Dipplin beyond. The tree coiling I don't think is as relevant, but it would live in the forest here. And so let's go to Cardinal H, my dog, who made one. And I love it. Here's Dualplin. Dualplin. So his take is that they are both Applins. You know, now that I think of it, you can see the tail on Dipplin. It is an Applin-like creature. The factor that makes them only work together in Paldea might just be the candy apple itself that maybe is thrown around in Kitakami when everyone's doing their festivals. So maybe in the forest nearby Kitakami, these Applins have figured out an answer to surviving by working together housed in one of those candy apples. You know what? That's the answer. So here's Dualplin, the candy apple Pokemon Grass Dragon. It's the only typing that makes sense for it. Due to the worms increasing in size, they have spiraled around the stem of the apple in order to make room for their increased size. Yeah, this is what plants do. They're clearly a plant dragon. I got a plant too. It just coils around stuff like this. Oh, this is it. So what should happen is its ability should still be Super Sweet Syrup, but it should get a hidden ability that's the same as Parental Bond. You know how Pokemon abilities, sometimes it's the same thing in a different name. Liberoprotein. Just call it freaking teamwork, something ass like that. But it's parental bond still. So you pick your poison. Do you pick the ability that makes the opponent easier to hit? Or do you hit them twice? It could also get like the giraffe rig ability where someone is watching its back. This just reminds you of mold growing on food. You left a candy apple on your kitchen counter. You come back in 2 days and this freaking thing is growing out of it. I'm disgusted. God. Just look at the way it looks. I want to see this on my terms. This thing cannot accidentally grow in my house. Look at you polluters, apples everywhere. Yeah, it's the Kitakami festival. We figured it out. Let's go to your theories. Here's Bartholomew. What if the coup tweet stating which or none of them meant something out of the box like which or none? Hinting a ghost type are fake. Unbelievable. A witch or a nun? I will never be as funny as you guys. And you're serious with this too. I still think the best idea is the spirit tomb for the are fake. A freaking nun Pokemon? Here's Thomas. Hey Titar, on the topic of Terra crystals, something came to mind. What if those crystals are somehow linked to evolution stones? What if Terapagos is the creator of evolution stones and the 19th type is potentially crystal? So I think what the evolution stones are just like a condensed version of nature. Like a water stone would be like the same energy as what lurks in the deep sea. A firestone, the energy of a natural flame. And then this becomes more plausible in like Sinnoh's case, where they introduced the Magnezone, where you can only evolve it at certain locations like New Marvel, that electric plant. But you go to the newer games and now you can use a Thunderstone on it. But you are still kind of right, because it sounds like Terapagos has the power of nature in general, of all 18 types. So in a disconnected way, it would be able to trigger any stone evolution at once. Like a Terapagos can put its head on your Eevee, make it a Vaporeon. There's a lot of ideas for how the crystal type works. It's not called that, but let's not get into that. Oh my goodness, Nathan. Maybe it's like witch like Miss Magius, who turns from purple to green when it's shiny. My goodness. See, Ku's first language is not English, but he does get the jokes. He knows English very well. Would he be able to make those pun jokes? Which or none of them? We can't be considering this. A nun Pokemon? Here's Sid. I believe the crown will make a Pokemon have no weakness. For example, if Rattata was in front of a fighting type, the crystals would spin around Rattata and bring the flying crystal to the front, making Rattata flying type. So essentially, any damage you take, it's gonna be normal effective. But he's saying there'll be a visual aspect where the crown will always switch to a resistant typing. That's crazy. If any Pokemon was able to get that 18 type crown, or maybe not any, but a lot more Pokemon than just Terapagos, that'd be interesting. If it was constantly animated and switching around. The Switch is gonna overheat. Oh my god, the witch theory again, Shashwant. A witch like Hatterene. Frick, you know what, man? Maybe it's a witch. This sounds like a cool thing to do. Reminder, look at the question carefully. Witch or none of them? Nope. I'm gonna call it quits here. Make sure y'all shank that like button. Keep DMing me your theories on Instagram, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.